Hello and welcome to Raise the Room podcast. I'm your host, Danica. Here at Raise the Room, we are trying to consciously raise our kids, re-raise ourselves, and by doing so, raise the vibe of any room we walk into simply with our authenticity. Now let's get to it. Hello, welcome back. I am Danica, your host, and this is a Wildcard episode, unhinged. I don't know what else to call it. It's basically an episode where I'm jumping on quickly because I do want to be consistent in getting out episodes, and I want to share my life with you, and my life is chaotic lately. We are in the middle of trying to move to a different area, 2 ferry rides away, getting jobs, packing up our house, selling our house. We just finished the school year, so as a teacher, that's always a messy time for me. There's so much going on, and my passion is Raise the Room, is doing this podcast, is doing readings and connecting with people online. Like, I love this little side business. I've done so much. And lately, all of that has just had to take a back seat. It's sort of been on the back burner just because of life. I've also been going through some health issues. I'm going through the process of being diagnosed with endometriosis. I don't have a family doctor. We have one walk-in clinic in this city, so getting any sort of answers has been kind of a nightmare. I turned to naturopathic medicine, which I always have loved, and I've found out my hormones are all out of whack, so trying to get that under control. It has just been a lot. My brain is constantly swirling. It's totally full at all times. And I'm grateful because I have a full life. Nothing is particularly crazy trying at this point in time, but it is challenging because everything feels like it's happening all at once. And I really, when I started this podcast, had the intention of having a lot of episodes in the can, as they say. I literally just learned that phrase today, and I've heard it twice on 2 other episodes, which means for movies and stuff, pre-recorded but not released. And I did, but then in the time that I released the podcast, I didn't continue recording at a quick enough rate to have some in the can. So here we are. It's Tuesday. I don't have an episode for tomorrow, and here we are. And my friend, I was voice noting Chelsea, who was on here, episode 4, She Makes Bank. And she's like, because I was trying to send out an email about, am I going to do this? Am I not? Blah, blah, blah. Explaining that life might be, and the podcast may be a little inconsistent the next little while. And she's like, why don't you just share that? Just share what the hell's been going on with your life. And it's might even be a 10-minute episode, but just get something out there. And I so appreciated that feedback, obviously, because here I am doing this to you, for me, really. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and just commit, even if it's just a little bit each week, to put something out because I love doing this. I really feel like myself when I'm doing this and sharing, and going back and forth with you on Instagram has been so, so amazing. So, I need a deep breath after just telling you all that. I want to say thank you to all of you that have reached out because of last week's episode talking about my rock bottom. You know what? I and we are not alone. A lot of us have been absolutely derailed because of the end of a relationship. And I just feel as women collectively, let's take a look at that. Those of us in straight relationships, and maybe even not. And I'm not saying men don't get derailed by relationships. They do. I know they do. But it's part of basically a lot of people's stories. And yeah, I think it's a coming of age thing. And I also think it's part of living in a patriarchal society. Just putting that worthiness and need for external validation on relationships, on feeling desired, on men sort of giving that to us and other people giving that to us. that's an episode for another day, but I just wanted to put that out there. And so many of us that have had like the friendship issues growing up and dealing with, relational aggression, which is what I talked about in the last episode. A lot of us dealt with that. And, it does show up later on in life. Yes, we can move on. Yes, we can get new friends. Yes, we can seemingly get over it and be resilient. And I'm not taking that away from any of us, but sometimes that wound will present like a completely irrational reaction to another form of rejection down the line, as I talked about, or it will present as a trust issue, or it will present as a feeling of unworthiness. And like, I think, releasing this episode's just made me realize how many of us have had similar and shared experiences, and how valuable it is to make those connections to the significant things that have happened in our lives, make the connections to how they still affect us and show up today, because there's really, there's some juice there in figuring all of that out. So thank you to those of you that reached out, and whether you related to it or not, I genuinely appreciated all of you that took the time to acknowledge, me putting out my story in that way. So thank you. Let's shift over to parenting. Why don't we? I feel like this is a good topic for me to just spitball. Is that a phrase? Spitball? Well, I said it to just go off on today, because parenting lately has been, it always is very, very trying. I find it extremely difficult. I find myself constantly looking at our little family dynamic going like, wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. It's wonderful, and it's so much harder than I thought it was going to be. And with this upcoming move, obviously the emotions are heightened in this house. They already were heightened, especially for my one son, where the year was coming to an end. He had a wonderful class, wonderful teacher. He's on his second year at this school, and he just had like 2 really great years there, 2 wonderful communities, teachers who really saw him and embraced his intensity and helped him, grow. And he was already, even before we talked about moving, like really showing us his distress over the fact that grade 1 was coming to an end and that he was going to be in different class with different teachers and different people in grade 2. It was just like behavior after behavior after behavior. Not at school, just at home for us. And then we dumped the news on him that we're moving. And you can imagine how emotional it's been for him. And I'm speaking mainly about my older son. My younger son, there's lots to say too, but he's younger. So, his main concern was like, well, are my toys coming with me? Oh, just so sweet. So I keep reminding him, like, everything stays the same, about our family's moving together, your toys, your things. It's going to be the place that changes, right? So trying to be really gentle and reinforcing that with him. But with most things in our family, like the focus is on my older son, because he just is more intense. And I even hate admitting that out loud. It actually makes me emotional for my younger son, because I don't intentionally mean for him to slip through the cracks. He's just quieter in his needs, and I really try and be conscious of that. But yeah, telling him, my older son, we were moving, it's been crazy. And we were away camping last week, and he was wonderful and he was terrible all at the same time. We had such a fun week. We were on the beach. We had beautiful weather every single day. And there just were some things where it was like, oh my God, he is so struggling with the unknown, and struggling with attachment. Like, a lot of his behaviors are presenting as, aggression, anger, those are his faves, but as neediness. Like, he's also weird, like, he's also quite affectionate lately, which a lot of the times his outbursts, I can't really just calm them or soothe them over with like a hug, where my younger son, he gets the comfort and then he moves on. My older one, it just escalates. And lately he's been really needing that hug where he's just been walking up to me and giving me a hug for no apparent reason, which is not his style. He's not affectionate in that way. So I know there's so much going on under the surface, and I'm trying my best to do my projector thing, which is zoom out and have the big picture in the back of my mind when he is being really challenging and trying to just remind him like, hey, you can be worried about this move, but you can't make it all of our problems by being rude to all of us at home, or by, choosing to be mean to your brother, or let that feeling out in a way that affects other people. You can have the feeling, but you have to figure out ways to manage it. And I can help you with that. But it's like just really trying to bring him back out of his behavior that he's presenting, that sometimes is seemingly totally unrelated to the move and his emotions, when it really is. And just reminding him like, hey, if you're feeling weird in your body right now, because he's a manifesting generator, so feeling weird in your body is a common, thing when you're experiencing discomfort or dis-ease. Like, if you're feeling weird in your body right now, let's talk about why. Let's not make it so that you're getting rid of that by hitting your brother. Let's, remove you. Obviously, I'm not this calm in the moment. Obviously, it's more of a shit show situation and I have to physically move him or I get upset. But after, it's like, let's talk about what you could do next time, or let's talk about why you are being mean to me. Like, let's talk about why you're being mean to your brother, and just trying to connect the dots for him so that he's processing what's happening as it's happening. And the great irony of this whole situation is my parents moved me to this exact same town at the exact same age, the summer before grade 2. And I found it so fucking hard. I was a little girl that I made friends right away. I was totally a good student. Like, everything seemingly on the surface was fine, but my world changing that drastically at that age, I struggled with. I went home for lunch a lot. I had a wonderful, supportive mother who was like so lovely in caring about my feelings. So like I had all the pieces of the puzzle for it to be okay, and yet it still didn't feel okay. So I'm hyper aware of how this is all going down for him. I'm hyper aware of the situation that we're putting him in, and I'm hyper aware, trying to just be patient with him as we navigate this next few months. Like, I don't have any answers for him. Our house isn't listed yet. We don't have a new house yet. I don't know exactly what school he's going to yet. Daddy doesn't have a job quite yet. Like, and I within, I'm just trusting that it's all going to work. I really do feel this sense of peace. Like, it's just going to fall into place. I do feel that. And maybe falling into place is not exactly how I envision it. Like, sell, buy, move, ta-da. Maybe it's something else, but I just trust that whatever is going to happen, it's going to be okay. And that is hard to share with a child who has very anxious tendencies and who likes to be prepared and who needs to know. So this is a really big learning curve for him. This is going to be one of his, big bumps in the road, I think. Something for him to look back on, and a chance for him to practice, getting comfortable with things being unknown and not clear. And as a parent, it sucks knowing that there's not much you can do except, be comforting towards your child as they're going through something. It's not our job to fix and remove all discomfort. It's our job to be there for them, to face life. And he is facing life right now, as we all are. And as for my younger son, oh man, he's just the sweetest kid. He is just happy, joyful generator to a T. And if he just wakes up in the same mood every single day. He's a non-emotional in human design. He's sacral, and he is just a little bucket of joy. And when he gets doing something he loves, like, it's so infectious. And he's always been a little bit more affectionate. But one of his behaviors now is like he's showing up and sleeping on our bed with us in the night. It's hilarious too, because he literally, like, my husband and I are on our sides on either end of our king bed, and like Mackie's sprawled like like the king in the middle. And it's like, how is this person who's a third of our size taking up the whole bed? But yeah, he's very he's been very interesting to watch because like I noticed a couple of times, like we were talking about my sister, her crew's all moving to the same place too. We're doing a mass exodus, moving back home all together. And my older son and I, because he's like so observant, he noticed the second auntie's for sale sign was up as we just like drove by on a different road. I didn't think he'd see it, but he could see. And as we're talking about that, my younger one starts making this annoying like bah, bah, bah sound while my older one and I are trying to have a conversation. And I was proud of myself in that moment because instead of being like, no thanks, Mackie, or I'm trying to talk, Mackie, or whatever to get him to stop, I was like, ooh, is this conversation making you feel weird, Mackie? Does your body feel weird? Because again, sacral generator, he's going to feel it physically in his body. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to. And so that was an eye-opening moment for me. Like he has the needs just the same as my older one does, obviously. He's just a little bit quieter in them. He's not as intense. And in that moment, I was so proud of him for making it known. So now I am conscious of being aware of how he's responding when anything about the move is being spoken about. So like after that day, we've been really trying not to bring it up too much in front of him, but then we will because he has to get used to it. So yeah, it's just been it's only been like a couple of weeks since they found out, maybe not even. And it's been quite a wild ride since then, actually, with both of them. And I love that they feel safe enough to just express themselves about it with us. And sometimes that safety as a parent, being the one who is the safe space, or the two people that are the safe space, it's so fucking exhausting. Especially at the end of the school year when I was saying goodbye to all my students. I had to drop the bomb on them 2 days before their last day of school. Like, I won't be here in September. They were like, what? That was really hard and emotional. It was the first time I had been in the same school for 3 years in a row. Yeah, it's just been a lot. It's been a lot. So mucho. Did you guys know I spoke Spanish? I actually do. I know that accent didn't make it sound like it at all, but my degree's in Spanish and I spent 2 years abroad studying Spanish. And don't challenge me to a conversation because it's been a long ass time, but I do know. I do understand. So, and my friend Leanne, if you're listening, te veo y te entiendo. Just inside joke on the podcast. Why not? In Spanish. Okay, and last thing that I might touch on at the end of this mini episode is body image. But I do want to do a full episode on this. But I bring it up because it has taken up so much of my brain space in the last little while, and it goes back to what I briefly mentioned about this diagnosis with endometriosis and my hormones being out of whack. Yes, I have been not a good exerciser in the past few months. A lot of that has to do with the fact that my hormones are out of whack and I've been very low energy and kind of feeling like you do when you have your period, but like at all times. So for me, that's a big struggle. And it's just really affected, my activity levels and my ability to care for myself in a way that I should and that I truly in my soul want to. And so I've gained quite a bit of weight in the last few months, and I'm always somebody who has been up, down, all around. So annoying. I wish it wasn't on my brain, but it's just like, I have to be honest, it's on my brain. Like my clothes aren't fitting well and it sucks. It just sucks. And I think what sucks the most is that like, I don't want to care, So what? My clothes aren't fitting well. So what? I'm chubbier than what I want to be. So what? Like my kids don't see me any differently. My husband doesn't see me any differently. My friends don't, my students, like all the people, but like I see myself differently. And that is the issue because at the end of the day, it's what we think of ourselves. And I wish I wasn't so brainwashed to like conditionally love myself based on the shape that I'm in, but I do. And I want to change that. And mainly I don't know. I just share it because that's part of the madness of the last couple of months is just like not feeling confident. So there's that. The last 5 days, obviously my hormones have been a little bit different, a little bit more balanced these last 5 days because I have gotten out and exercised, and I just feel so much better. And I shared about it on my stories. It's why do I do this to myself, where I stop exercising and then I get back on? I'm going to start being really intentional about cycle syncing. So doing the exercise that feels good for me at that stage of my cycle. And my lovely friend and client Brenna, gave me this beautiful tagline of just okay, what activity will serve me today? And I need to reframe it. And I have been reframing it as that, is not thinking of it as exercise or working out or whatever, these words that shouldn't mean anything. But over time, I've attached a meaning to, a connotation to. So it's what activity will feel good and serve me today? I need and want so badly to just be in that rhythm. And I'm hopeful with my hormones that things will balance out a little bit to support me in that. And I know this is something a lot of you feel. We've gone back and forth about it in the DMs, so I'm just sharing that. That's also part of my brain, and I hate it, and I want it to change. So I'm on that journey. I really am. I am on the journey. And let's be honest, with all of the madness and all of the busyness in my life in the last couple of months, I definitely have some eating behaviors that are not good. I never related to the term emotional eating because I felt oh, you're sad, you eat. That wasn't me. But what I do is eat to regulate, or eat to decompress, or eat to relax. And because things have felt so bumpy lately, my food intake has been all over the map in trying to just eat to decompress. So that's not helping either. Anywho, I'll share on all of that later. I will do a full breakdown of body image episode at some point in time. And I do have some really cool interviews coming up that I'm recording with people that you will want to hear from. And yeah, thank you to all of you who just have tuned in for this mini episode and who continue to support me and continue to cheer me on. I genuinely feel lucky that I have these roomies in my life because, yeah, I just feel lucky. This is not a polished episode. I'm not editing any of it. So enjoy. Just letting my freak flag fly. How do you say that? Freak flag fly? Freak flag fly. All right, roomies. Until next time, thank you for your patience. The episode hopefully will come out every Wednesday. She might just look a little different than she usually does. I appreciate your understanding and your love, and I'm sending it all right back to you. Ooh, I almost forgot that with all that you are and all that you bring to the table, you will always raise the room. Thank you, roomies, for letting me just keep it real. And when we keep it real, we raise the room. All right, until next time. Thank you so much for spending your precious time here with me today. If you'd like more, please follow along at raise.the.room on both Instagram and TikTok. Or you can go to my website, danicamarie.com. That's Danica with a C. Here you can book a human design session with me for you or your child, or you can get one of my human design parenting courses that helps you understand your child's human design type. They're designed to help you work with the child you have instead of against them. And finally, if you're still here, this would be the point where I'd ask you to rate and review the podcast, except just saying it out loud makes me want to die. So instead, I'll say, please share with a friend. I'd really appreciate it. And finally, let's always remember that with all that you have to offer, you will always raise the room. Can't wait to chat soon. Bye.